Welcome back to another video of our node by node journey that we're doing through Blender Shading Workspace. I'm going through every single node within the shading workspace, explaining a little bit about how they work and some ways that you can use them. And I'm compiling information from YouTube, TikTok, all sorts of websites and professionals that use these on a regular basis and do tutorials. And I'm trying to combine it to make it easier for you to have one location to be able to go for any of them. And like I said, I'm by no means an expert, but at least hopefully I can give you some insight into the basics of how these work. So we're going through all the input ones first. We've gone through a bunch of them already, and now we're on layer weight. So you're going to notice right away on layer weight, there's going to be two options on the right, two options on the left. So left side is going to have a normal input that you can put like a bump node or a normal map into. You'll see that it has a blending factor to how it's going to be able to blend and control the effect that comes out of it. And then it's got a Fresnel node at the top and a facing. So what I did here is I created three different Suzannes. So Suzanne is the monkey that comes in Blender. And I just subdivided it and did a shade smooth. And then I put on the first one, I selected facing. So that was one of the options within the layer weight node. Second one, I did a Fresnel node or Fresnel facing out of layer weight node. And then the last one, I did a regular Fresnel node. So the reason why I added this in, we've already talked about the Fresnel node, but because this one, the layer weight has a Fresnel option, I wanted to show you the difference of how the two of them work. So before we get into the facing, I'll talk about the Fresnel node a little bit. So when we're looking at the difference between the two, the layer weight is a more linear way of looking at the Fresnel effect on here because it only goes from 0, which is black, to 1, which is white. Okay, 0.5 is just halfway between. So when you're blending between the two of them, it's a little bit more linear, meaning that it's going to be very straightforward. Like there's not a lot of thought that goes into it. It's just 0 to 1, 0 being more black, 1 being more white. When you look at the regular Fresnel node, it has a little more control over it because it's an IOR, which is the index of refraction, which has to do how much light is passing through it. And what you can do is you can actually dial it all the way down to 0, which is white. But then as you dial it up, the black comes in, takes over and is fully black, then goes to gray, and then goes back to white again. So it's going to give you a lot more control over how you're doing it, which is why they have a separate Fresnel node on here. So overall, the Fresnel node in itself is a little bit better if you want to do that. But if you need it to be a little more linear and straightforward, you can use the Fresnel node on here. Now, it's a little bit different when you're using facing. So facing, as you can see, moves around as you're moving through your object. The other two stay the same as you move around, but this one, you're going to see the black spots are moving because as you move, it's going to be based on where you're facing, hence why it's called facing, okay? And it's also going to be a little bit different for how it looks on here. So it gives it more, you can almost see a more 3D effect that it causes. And as you dial it down, it goes to black, dial it up goes to white, just like it does in the Fresnel part. But it allows you to dial it up based on what you're looking for with your shader. So pretty cool, a little bit different. Now, there's some things that you can do with these to make them have a little bit more flair, so to speak, to it. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to add in a color ramp and an emission node. So we're going to go ahead and just drop the facing into the emission, okay, and you'll see it creates this light. We're going to do the same thing with the Fresnel on the layer weight, okay, which now you see it looks pretty similar. And we're going to do the same thing with the regular Fresnel node, just for comparison purposes. Now, they all look the same, but I had to get different settings on each one to get there. So this one, the color ramp's more to the left. This one, it's really punched in on the left. And then this one, it's almost towards the middle, okay? So definitely interesting how that works. And you can control the emission and everything with the emission level here. But the other thing you can do too is you can change the colors. So let's say that we wanted to change the color and give it more of a blue look for this one. This one, let's say we wanted to leave black but change the outline. So we're going to go a little bit red on this one. And this last one, let's make green, right? We'll change the white to green. Okay. So the cool thing about this is that all three of these are going to give you similar looks to them. The only difference is that you're going to have a different way of calculating it. So depending on what kind of project you're working on, it can make the difference, you know, for which one you want to use. Like maybe you want it to be able to move around with the object like this, or maybe you want it to be a little bit more stagnant. It's a little more obvious, the movement on this one than it is on the others. So it just depends on what it is that you're trying to do and the look that you're going for. And like I said, as you dial them up, you know, layer weight all the way up is going to be solid emission. All the way down is going to be no emission. Same thing with the Fresnel version of it. And then the Fresnel node itself can go all the way black, can go all the way green, and gives you a little bit more control. So that's just one way that you can do it. It's a pretty cool effect to be able to get this glowing effect. You can add some bloom to it in the compositor if you wanted to make it pop a little bit more. I'm not going to do that for this part. We'll do that when we go through geometry nodes. But overall, this is pretty cool. A nice little effect that you can do. Like I said, with the layer weight node, a little bit different than the Fresnel node, but you can get similar looks to each one of them. So hopefully this has helped. Stay tuned for my next one. Make sure that you like and follow, watch all the videos, share them with other people, and hopefully I can keep continuing get through every single one of these shader nodes.